Welcome to Below the Line with Dr. Bennie L. Harris. The Chancellor of the University of South Carolina Upstate talks with top leaders about issues such as change, technology, education, and leadership. Please enjoy.
Welcome to Below the Line. I am here with Mr. Avi Lawrence. Avi is the president of Contec, Inc. Contec is the Spartanburg-based manufacturer of contamination control products used in mission-critical cleaning environments all around the world. So, Avi, welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So let's start from the beginning. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and how it may have influenced or impacted who you are and your career trajectory.
Sure.
Trajectory.
Before I do that, first, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I've really appreciated the opportunity to get to know you, and I through our service on One Spartanburg Inc. As well as you recall, I served on the USC Upstate Foundation, and had the opportunity to live firsthand see the impact you have made here at the university. And for many years, I believed and was involved in the foundation for many years, but believed that the university is very important to the Upstate.
Yes.
It's a talent pipeline for local businesses here, and so seeing the growth in the university has been just exciting to see. I remember being here earlier this year, and we watched the baseball team make it to the championship, or in the tournament rather.
Right.
And just it's very exciting to see all the things that are going on with Upstate. So I appreciate being here.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate serving on One Spartanburg board with you in a number of areas that we've served. And as you articulated, you have been a great supporter of the university. So thank you again. So let's start. Tell me about you and tell me about your upbringing and
Sure.
how it influenced your career trajectory.
Actually, my parents were both in academics. So
Okay.
my dad was a physics professor. My mom was a humanities,
Okay.
and she ended up going on and finishing her career out as a small high school principal.
Mhm.
But my dad was, education was really important to him. He was one of 5 children, and was the first to actually go to college and graduate.
Okay.
And so and through his education, he had the opportunity to go out and do different things. And so for us, and me and my sister, his thing was always about, education is really important. It's important that you pay attention to your studies and do different things like that. And obviously, growing up, I didn't do that, and enjoyed playing sports or doing whatever else it was, as opposed to really focusing on schoolwork. And I think the realization at some point came to me when he said to me, "Listen, the best I can give you is an education. Outside of that, there's nothing else I can give you." And it sort of hit home at that point that, okay, I gotta go do something. And he said, "I really don't care what it is you do. Whatever you do, you've got to work really hard at it." And he was a very hard worker. He worked hard, and so sort of seeing that example and seeing that, I started going, okay, well, maybe I need to be thinking about university and college and going that route. And at the time, he was doing work at Northeastern.
Okay. So that's how you chose North.
Well, it is and it isn't. Like he told me about it, and when your dad tells you something, you don't listen at that age, And he had a colleague come to our house for dinner one evening, and I was talking to him and excited to speak with this new professor, and he mentioned Northeastern and told me a little bit about the co-op program. And that's when I started getting excited and interested in it, because I had done this high school 1 week,
Okay.
like, experiential learning thing, and had done it at a bank, and was like, okay, that's really neat. And the other part about Northeastern that was exciting to me, the co-op, was it was a quarter system at that time. So you do 6 months on, 6 months of work experience, and you were getting paid.
Yes.
Which was important for me to be able to pay for my education. So that became my first choice.
Yeah. So you majored in what in college?
So I went in as saying I wanted to be a finance major. And my first co-op was with a mutual fund company.
Okay.
And although it was interesting and I like that I think I came back out saying, "Okay, I don't know that I really loved that specifically." And so I had an opportunity to do some corporate finance
Okay.
work for my second co-op at the Gillette company, which at that time was publicly traded, was not yet part of Procter& and Gamble, and worked in a department with that I was just like, "These people are really smart." Like,
Yeah.
and so I had, had an opportunity to do that, learned a lot from that experience, but started asking questions about what they were doing, what their majors in college were, and a lot of them talked about how they were CPAs. They had
Okay.
gone into accounting and been a CPA, and so I just started asking more questions of
Yeah.
them, and um, sort of went back to college and started looking at what it would take to be an accounting major, and um, at that point, I was, halfway through, so looking at I was like, "I'm gonna have to take 3 accounting classes every semester till I graduate to be able to do this." So I was pretty good at understanding syllabus and
Uh-huh.
working through my own schedules to make sure that I could, y y you know, get all the classes I needed and graduate on time. So I basically put that together and finished out with an accounting finance.
Okay. You know, that's it takes a lot of discipline to make that type of decision that you're gonna add to your, we counsel and work with students every day. We have something else in common. I was a co-op student
Oh,
at
okay.
Mississippi State. I co-opted in engineering where I went to school for a semester and worked a
Yeah.
semester and did with a manufacturing company. So it really does help you, one, to pay for school, but it also helps you to get that real world experience as well.
I mean, in hindsight, I wouldn't make a different decision. I think it was one of the best things I ever did. There's so much that comes with it because we, co-op was such a big thing at Northeastern. So you had, professors helping you with resumes, professors, we had a whole interviewing
Yeah.
class where they videotaped you and then talked to you about, hey, these are the things that you can do differently and better. And so even, like, going through those experiences, by the time you graduated, you had a sense for what it was like to work,
Yep.
what you needed to do to be a professional in those offices. So when we had on-campus interviews and interviewing, like, it wasn't something new,
Yeah.
and was able to get through Cs and ended up having, a couple of offers before
Good.
graduation.
So, at what point or at what point in your academic career or in your career did it help you to think more about business and leadership, or even help shape your thinking about business and leadership?
So, my interest in business probably goes back. Like I said, I wasn't a great high school student, but a class that always stuck out to me was economics.
Okay.
And coming from that era that we were at, the capitalism and the free market was a big deal
Okay.
at that time. And so I just really got interested in how businesses functioned in a free market, and the various pressures of supply and demand, and that really interested me. So that was sort of why I ended up choosing to be a business major. And then as I started going through that major, there's a lot about financial statements, and that's why the accounting thing started to be of interest to me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is sort of but this is the language you speak in business, so I should probably go get get an accounting degree. And so I went out and I became a CPA,
Mhm.
and I worked with one of the large firms, and that was a phenomenal experience as well. Just the number of businesses I got to see, the interactions I got to have with CFOs and CEOs, and so much so that I went on a 2-year rotational assignment
Yeah.
as an expatriate to Australia, which was
Oh, that's good.
just a great
So the whole
experience.
international experience was so critical in you developing and growing from both leadership and a business perspective.
Yes,
Excellent.
and so going over to Australia, I had the opportunity. You know, those firms are allowed to do different things in different countries,
Mhm.
and so I had the opportunity to get involved with M&A work over there, some buy side, sell side type advisory services, and so I was like, wow, this is really neat, and had the opportunity to go and do some cross-border transactions in Thailand. I did a lot of work for Qantas while I was over there, and so there was it was called Thai Air Cargo, this small cargo business that they were interested in, and so had the opportunity to sort of get involved and do that. But um, so that was a real eye opener for me. And so on my return, I came back and said, I'd like to look at what our M&A type opportunities here within the Boston office. And I was still up in Boston at that time, and there was a small advisory group. There's probably like 6 or 8 of us that went in. So we started this group out of Boston, and I did that for several years. But by the time I left there, we had grown that into like a 32-person practice.
Okay. So you started early in merger and acquisition in your career.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so what was one decision you made that in hindsight you would have done differently? Or what specifically changed your thinking afterwards?
I don't know that there was a decision necessarily. Well, I'll put it this way. The one thing that I really enjoyed about that opportunity was I got to see a lot of business plans, but a lot of the deals we did were private equity deals. So you're taking private companies and basically acquiring them from a private equity group. But the part that really stuck out to me was the opportunity to sit down and speak with these entrepreneurs that had started these businesses, and seeing what they had done, and then getting them, learning their stories, hearing their stories. What did they do with the challenges that they faced to get to where they were, but then using that to then to make that decision that I've probably taken this as far as I can go, or I need to move on. But that experience actually gave me. I finally was at that point where I was like, in the next 2 years, I need to decide if I want to stay and make partner,
Okay.
or do I want to go out and get into an operating role.
Okay.
And so that experience was important, because part of me was like, this is great. We're doing all this work. We're making these, these plans or these models about this is what this business will do going forward. But you get it to that point, you close the deal, and then you sort of move on to the next deal. And so it's like, did the things we wanted to do, did they work? Did they make sense? So that was an eye-opening opportunity for me to say, okay, let me think about this real hard. Do I want to be in an operating role?
Yeah. So you're looking at operating roles. You're looking at whether or not you want to stay, become a partner in this merger and acquisition entity. What about the entrepreneur that, when do you know when it's time to sell your business or take or allowed to be acquired?
So I think that's a different decision depending on every individual, every individual entrepreneur. So, some of them, they started it and they're like, I don't have kids that want to be in this business.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I've done this for a long time, and I'm ready to cash out. I'm ready to take chips off the table and move on. Others would be, I know I can grow this business, but I don't have the resources or the capital to do it. And so it's time for me to, to let somebody else sort of take it to the next level. So there's always it's a story that they're dealing with that gets them to make that decision.
I can see that because having the expertise, having private equity firms who come and acquire it or whatever, and they are able to deploy a lot of expertise. So in 2006, you first joined Contec.
I did, yeah.
What assumptions did you bring, and how have those been challenged over the years?
Okay, so little story there. I wasn't looking necessarily, and I got this call from an executive recruiter that I had literally hadn't spoken to in 2 years. And 2 years prior to that, she had reached out to me about this opportunity. It was a turnaround situation. This company was emerging out of bankruptcy, and she said, I might be interested in it. So I was like, well, let me just go interview. I've got nothing to lose to have a conversation. And so I went to it, and I came back and I just said, I really didn't enjoy meeting the management team.
Okay.
And I don't think I would be a good fit there. So she said, okay, I understand. And she called me back and said, "You've really put me in a difficult situation," because they were ready to offer you a position. So I said, "Well, I appreciate that, but I think I'm good. I'm going to stay." So 2 years later, I haven't heard from her. She calls me up and says, "I really have something that I think you'd really like you with who you are, you'd really like this." And I said, "Well, where is it?" And she said, "Spartanburg, South Carolina." And I said, "I'm not moving there." And 20 years later, here I am. But she so she said, just tell me some things that would be of interest to you. And I started going through a list of things. And she said, "This is really something you need to have this conversation." So I said, "Sure," and I had the opportunity to come down and meet Jack and Jen and see where they were. And at the time we were just here in Locust Grove, and it was the entire company was in that building.
Yeah.
And so getting to your question, I think some of the assumptions that I had at that time were, one, really good people,
Mm-hmm.
and I believed cultural fit, one, and two, I thought I would learn a lot from Jack,
Yeah.
like just be, being a person that had been that entrepreneur, started that business, and just smart, and that I could learn a lot. So I thought that was one assumption that I had made. Two, the products and the markets really interested me.
Okay.
And I believed in my head that, hey, there's an opportunity to keep growing this business. I mean, we can go international. There's really an opportunity here. And so that was one of the assumptions, and that maybe excited me a little bit. Um, the other thing was, I remember when I had met them, I was walking past a notice board, and I noticed um, birthday and anniversaries. And on the anniversary list, there was more double-digit anniversaries than single digits. So I said, this is a special place.
Yeah.
So I was, it was, we talked to my wife about it and everything. And I was traveling a lot for work. And so she said, if it means that you don't have to just get on a plane with 24 hours of notice, I'm all in. Let's do this. Let's move there. And my son was a year old, so it was that, a good time in our lives to make that move. So where they were challenged, Jack is as advertised.
She's an amazing person.
Amazing person, yeah, and have really appreciated the opportunity to work with him and learn from him. It's been, so that came true.
Yeah.
The culture, I remember saying to Jack, I said, "Jack, I'm working in an organization that I love the people I work with," and he said, "I think we have a pretty good team too, Avi." And he's right. We have a really good team. We have a great team. So that was real. The and we were at that cusp of, okay, if we're going to start doing these things, there's a lot that needed to go in place to happen. And so we have been able to grow internationally.
You had to be relatively young at that time. You took that job, right?
I was, yeah. I mean, and maybe that's a good thing, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So you're willing to try different things and get out there and in some ways you're not afraid to
Yeah.
fail a little bit, because I mean, what do I know? I don't, I don't.
You can only go
better.
up, right?
Yeah, right.
So when you took on that expanded role, what internal tensions did you grapple with? And do you ever deal with the imposter syndrome?
So one thing, I came into the organization as a CFO,
Yeah.
which was a great opportunity for me to learn. And I say that because I could come in and say, I'm sorry, I'm asking really stupid questions because I don't really know the business, and everybody's happy to teach you. Like you don't know, so we'll teach you. So that 3 years of being in that CFO role, we did a lot of things that were important for foundationally building the company for expansion. So, for example, like, we did not have an ERP system. We were operating on 3 different operating systems and things like that. So we needed to put that in place, so that there was a backbone behind the company. We needed to put, a budgeting process in place. We needed to expand and start building out, overseas. So I got involved in a lot of those. We did a couple of acquisitions while I was there. So I built relationships with people during that time. So stepping into that role, I was, to your point, I was definitely nervous about it. Like, this is a big change for me. There were a couple of people that I had worked with, and one of them, I was nervous about. Okay, Jack and I are going to go tell him that I'm going to be his new,
Uh,
and his reaction set me so much at ease. He was like, okay, I'm going to be able to learn, and I'm probably going to make mistakes, but it's going to be great working with these people and make those mistakes and sort of learn together. So, do you have imposter syndrome? Probably always a little bit, right?
right.
Do I really know everything I need to know? And
Well, I think people who are aspirational, who are hard workers, always gonna overcompensate with hard work to make sure that
that's right.
you're gonna
That's
overcompensate.
right.
And you're gonna find when you go to a setting that you're more prepared than the
Yes.
setting required at the time, but it helps you to relax and be at ease.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So many executives talk about turning points. Can you recall a moment at Contec when you felt we're either transformed now, or we will risk being irrelevant?
So, I'll joke. I think Jack will probably agree with this. I I think we always felt like we were the underdogs.
Okay.
We're new kids on the block. Um, at that time, we hadn't even completed 15 years as an organization, but we were making huge strides, doing really well. So I think in some ways that the turning point was more about, hey, we're going to be a company that diversifies both internationally, geographically, and market segmentally
Okay.
as well. And so what does that mean and what does that look like? And that also led us down the road of disinfectants, which prior to that we were, mopping and wiping systems, but we kept going into facilities and seeing them using our wipes for surfaces, using our mops for floors, but they would mop the floors with somebody else's disinfectant. So it's like, well, why can't we do that? And so we had an opportunity to acquire a disinfectant company, and so that started us on that whole path towards, let's keep expanding
Okay.
out this product line, and it's you always learn, which is great. We bought this company. We thought we were going to be product is going to be the best thing for the cleaner market, and it's going to do X, Y, and Z. And everything we thought about it was wrong.
Yeah. Well, it kind of leads to my next question: is what was most challenging when Contact pursued acquisitions? Was it the cultural compatibility, potential dilution of the brand, or the difficulty with the integration? Any regrets in some of those areas? Sometimes.
Um, y- you know, we always sort of looked at acquisitions from what are good technological acquisitions, what makes sense to be part of the portfolio, and does it allow us to enter a different market or whatever it was. I would say that one of the most challenging ones we did was we acquired a similar business to ourselves,
Okay.
and that integration was very challenging.
Okay.
And part of it was twofold. One was the the end users that you're going in and working with, they're doing critical manufacturing. And so when we're trying to move out of the facility that we bought and move them into ours, they wanted you to be sure that the product that they're getting from that old facility when it's moved is going to be identical.
Okay.
And so we had to run and operate for a year these two facilities separately, showing results that we've been able to, copy the results from one facility into another. And at that same time, we started having a big uptick in business.
Okay.
So it was an extremely, extremely challenging
Probably
time.
much more expensive than you had anticipated.
Definitely was.
As well.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So you have emphasized that Contact's corporate social responsibility is not a side project, but a mindset. In practice, how do you stop CSR from being sidelined when short-term financial pressures grow?
So, from our perspective, corporate social responsibility it's we take it as a broad, and we break it into our our people, our company and our community.
Okay.
And so everything we touch then hits one of those three areas. So when we look at corporate social, and one thing that's is a good thing as a privately owned company. Yes, financials are important, but maintaining our culture is even more important. And so we're able to take a longer term view than short term views of, is this, do we need to make this profitable or so on and so forth. So being able to be a private company and take that longer term view, always say we're not, this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. And so we can take our time to get things right. We're able to stay focused on those different things. So,
Okay.
Fortunately, and that deep culture that's embedded there of doing right for the community, doing right for the community and the company, we continue to see that
Okay.
day in and day out.
Great. So I have this question. Have you personally seen or championed a small idea that unexpectedly turned into something with major impact? And what was your role in that?
So one thing when we were starting to have integrate that other business and starting to grow, one of the things, as you said, it was expensive, and,
Right.
and we ended up spending. One thing we kept dealing with even after the full integration was we were always unable to understand what the pattern of ordering was.
Okay.
And so we go through these spikes of, peaks of, we're running overtime and doing all this, to now we're hitting a bit of a lull here. And so it was always challenging to make sure we had people to be able to be here to respond, and so on and so forth. So the one thing that, you know, I championed at that time was we need to be a lean manufacturer.
Okay.
And I think that was a critical thing. But we had the staff and the team that was excited about being able to take that on and run with it. So I was a sponsor, I'll say, just said, hey, this is something we need to do. But it gave me an opportunity to get involved in every part of the organization as we were going through, because I was just wanted to learn with them, learn with the team. And even to this day, we're still, operating under those lean environments.
So how do you allocate your time as president? Do you block off hours on your calendar? How do you say no to distraction? How do you say no to calls from me that say, can you do this with me?
That's a great question. It's not easy. I think when I was younger, I was not good at it at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't say no to anybody. And to your point about, blocking off time, I didn't do that. So I was always in meetings. We run a very open door policy.
Yeah.
Anybody can come in at any point in time. But more recently, I have started sort of taking time on my calendar and blocking it off just so that I can think. The other thing that I do, I love going in early, and it's quiet. You can get a lot done. So I sort of take that time to plan my day out, get some critical things done early on in the day, so that I have time to do the meetings. And
actually, I came to a place where I had to literally put on my calendar, this is just planning time.
Yeah.
And then I put strategy time. So my assistant knows that I don't want to schedule any meeting that interrupt my strategy time. So it could be a strategy meeting.
Yep. Yes.
But I don't want it, but it has to be on Tuesday and Thursdays are times where I do strategy for the institution. And I try to avoid any other types of meeting because it would consume all your time, and then you'll be spending up all evening trying to do strategy or trying to play catch up, and then you don't rest. You work yourself overtime unnecessarily. So given all that you've experienced, what questions do you wish someone had asked you years ago, and how would you answer that question today?
That's a great question. So I think maybe I wish someone had asked me, how do you show yourself as a leader? Like, what's going to be your leadership style, if you will? And I think, in my younger years, I think I probably thought I need to be looking at somebody that I thought was a great leader and emulating them, or whether that be a charismatic leader or, hey, they make great decisions and so on and so forth. Where now I think just having some, having hindsight, and I think I would have answered it differently now in that I think being your authentic self
Yeah.
is one of the greatest assets a leader can have. Being transparent, that people see who you are and know what they're getting, that you listen carefully, you ask questions, you don't have all the answers, but you work with the team to come up with solutions. I think that builds a level of trust. And I think if you can be a trusted leader in that authenticity,
Yeah.
that's, I think, how I would answer that
You
today.
know, I appreciate you because you answered more succinctly than I think about it. I kind of thinking all kind of whatever. But the answer you respond is the best thing for leadership is to be your authentic self. And your values are what really make the difference in how people respond to who you are.
Mm.
So you can be a charismatic leader or you can be a quiet leader if that's authentically you.
Yeah, that's right.
And what I've always encouraged people is to don't try to emulate someone else's style
Exactly
and
right.
call it leadership.
That's right.
So you can be quiet, and that quietness, you can still be true, trustworthy. You can be all of those things that are critically important for leadership.
Yeah, don't try to be somebody you're not.
Yeah, don't try to be that.
Yeah.
Because people can see that.
Exactly
It's,
right.
you be-
And then you're not authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to talk about leading below the line. That's
Yeah.
what this podcast is talking about. And it's basically saying that leaders have to make decisions that you don't always have the information to make the decision, or you don't know what's really below the line. You have people that you acquire a company, and once you've acquired that company, you realize that there's something else that is impeding that team's ability to make the next decision. And you don't know that because the numbers came great, the product was great, the structure was great, et cetera. So how do you lead? How do you interpret that or lead below the line?
I am pretty hands-on. I mean, I do like getting involved in not stepping on toes or micromanaging or anything like that, but just being a good sounding board. I think when your people trust you, they want your opinion, and they'll come to you and say, hey, we're having this particular issue or that particular issue, and you can work with the team at that point to come up with a solution that everybody feels good about. But I think that comes back to the team has to trust you. You have to trust your people.
Yeah.
And I think, you asked me, another question. I think one thing we've tried to do is keep pushing decisions down all the way down, right? Because when you as going, I get to make this decision, then you take ownership. And when you can get ownership down all the way down in the organization, we're a better organization for it.
It's really servant leadership. I think so many leaders are afraid. They feel like it's risk. It is risk.
Yeah.
But the reward is so much greater when people feel ownership, and you give them permission to make mistakes, and you give them permission to pivot, and you ask the right questions, and you even give them input on how to think about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like saying, hey, there's no decision you can make that's going to break us.
Yeah.
We can always come back from it. So there's no bad decision, and we'll learn from it. And so I think the more we can rely on our people to make decisions, I think the better off we are as an organization.
Yeah. I have one final question for you. Well, kind of two. Do you have a hero?
Uh-huh.
And then the final question is there a quote, a mantra that resonate with you?
Okay. I'd say my hero is my dad.
Okay.
He's he's a man of faith, and he was our spiritual leader at home. He would start his day with the Lord, and that was something that I watched. I saw. He was a great father, a great husband. I saw him lead, departments and things like that. But he always did it. He was an authentic person. He always did it in his authentic self. And my mom's not well, and watching him be that rock for her, and take care of her even through all that. I just keep going back to he's my hero, and I want to be like him.
Yeah. So do you have a quote or something special that you
I-
draw upon?
So maybe two things, and actually one of them is similar to story you tell that I've heard you tell actually about the bowl.
Yeah.
And putting in,
Empty cup.
empty cup,
Yeah.
and putting in, you're gonna fill it up, and there's certain things that you want to take out. So I say this in our organization. Let's be learning people, not knowing people.
Okay.
And so
Like that.
let's learn. If somebody says they know everything, then you probably need to go find something else that you want to do. I think learning is something that we should do our entire lives. And so, I feel like I learn every day from my team. I think we've got a talented team, and so being able to learn from them is really
So you say, let's learn people, not
let's be learning people,
yeah.
not knowing people.
let's be learning people.
So let me be a learning person, not a knowing person.
Okay, I love that.
And then the other thing that I think is important, and probably drawing my face a little bit on this, but pride comes before the fall.
Yeah.
And with humility comes wisdom, and so it sort of ties in a little bit with that.
I love it.
With the be a learning person.
You need to make sure your father hears this interview, right?
That's a good point.
Good. Well, I'm here with Avi Lawrence, who's the president of Contec, and I appreciate the opportunity for you to interview with you, to talk about below the line and talk about leadership. I feel so blessed because I get to sit with brilliant people like you and
You're a brilliant person.
get professional development every time I have a conversation.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
today.
Thank you for listening to Below the Line.
The Below the Line podcast is brought to you by the University of South Carolina Upstate. Look for our monthly write-up in Greenville Business Magazine, and for more information, go to uscupstate.edu.